Machi did not know that a person could wake up as an innocent lover girl and sleep that same day with a serious heartbreak if someone had told her that her life would change before she even learned how to live it. She would have laughed and she would have said, that kind of a thing only happens to careless girls. Not me, because she believed she was careful. That morning, she woke up early, swept the compound, fetched water, and warmed leftover food for her parents. Everything about her life was simple and clean. She had just finished secondary school and was only 18. Machi did not know much about life, but she knew what she had been taught. Her mother taught her that a girl's mistakes follow her faster than her shadow. Her teachers taught her that love does not write examinations or feed babies. And the church taught her that obedience and abstinence will save anyone from many tears. Machi carried all these lessons like eggs in a basket, carefully, gently, and with fear. When boys looked at her, she felt uncomfortable because she had been trained to run away from them. That training was her shield. In her area, girls her age were already outside. Some were dating openly, some were already living with men, and some had children. Machi watched them and quietly thanked her mother for straightness. And we enjoyed later, she always told herself. Her plan was simple: learn a skill, help her parents, grow up properly, and then think of love. That plan did not include Nelson. Nelson was not from her circle. He talked like someone who had tasted money. He laughed like someone who had nothing to lose. His clothes were always clean and his phone always rang. When he first greeted Machi some days earlier, she answered out of respect, not interest. When he stopped her another day, she listened out of courtesy. And when he finally asked her if she was interested in getting to know him, she said no without shaking. She went home that day feeling proud. Proud that she did not bend. Proud that she remembered her upbringing, and proud that she was not like other girls. That night, her mother sat beside her on the bed and spoke about life again as if she knew something terrible was on the way. Well, African mothers always know. Machi, she said, your life is just starting. I need you to guide it. Don't fall for any cheap talk. In fact, don't listen to any. Machi nodded. She believed her mother was right, but life has a strange way of testing what you believe. 2 days later, Bordon entered the house. There was nothing to do. No visitors and no cheers. Just silence. When power was finally restored, her cousin switched on the television and began watching a Nollywood movie. Machi did not plan to watch with her. She was thinking about her life and the day she would finally leave for the university, not paying attention. But slowly, the voices entered her ears. A man was speaking kindly to a woman. He was patient, gentle, and he was present. Machi raised her head. The woman on the screen was not rich, but she was loved deeply. For the first time in her life, love did not look dangerous, it looked safe. She watched quietly and her heart started asking questions she had never allowed before. What if love is not always bad? And what if someone can care for me like this? She did not answer those questions. She only watched. That night, she did not sleep easily. Her mind replayed the movie scenes. The way the man defended the woman, the way he stayed, the way he treated her pain like it mattered, and the way he touched her. Machi hugged her pillow and stared into the darkness. She was not planning to fall in love. She was only imagining what it would feel like to be loved. But somehow, it felt good. The next morning, she stepped out to buy something for her mother. The sun was hot and the road was quiet. Then again, she saw Nelson. He was standing by the roadside alone. Good day, he said. His voice was calm. Machi hesitated for half a second, then she replied, Good day to you too. They exchanged a few words. Nothing deep. Yet, Machi noticed something different. Nelson did not rush, and he did listen like the main character in the movie. As she walked away, her heart felt confused. She didn't know why. She only knew that something had shifted inside her. Something tiny but real. Nelson was a young guy that made money suddenly. It felt like rain falling on someone who did not even carry an umbrella. Before then, he was an ordinary boy in the neighborhood, loud, restless, and always dreaming bigger than his reality. He knew how to talk, how to laugh, how to attract attention, but he did not know how to stay responsible. Then, money came through one deal, one connection, and one opportunity that landed in his hands before he was ready. Overnight, his life changed. People who never noticed him began to greet him properly. Friends multiplied. His phone never rested. He started dressing better, eating better, and moving better. Money gave him confidence and it also gave him pride. He began to feel important. He felt chosen. He felt like life finally agreed with him. And as expected, nobody corrected him anymore. Nobody advised him strongly again, and people now laughed at his jokes, even when they were not funny. Slowly, he began to believe that anything he wanted should come easily, including people. When he first noticed matching, it was not love, it was curiosity mixed with ego. She was different from the girls who laughed loudly around him. She did not admire his money and she did not show interest. That bothered him so much. So when matches said no, it did not stop him. It only challenged him. He did not see her as a human being with values. He saw her as a project, something to win and something to prove that his money and mouth still worked. But Nelson was not foolish. He knew shouting and pressure would not work, so he decided to change his strategy. He chose patience. The next few days, he reduced the noise. He stopped stopping her on the road. He stopped pushing. When he saw her, he greeted her politely and walked away. He allowed silence to speak for him, and this was what Umachi noticed. If only she knew. One afternoon, Nelson saw her again at a small shop. He greeted her calmly and he began to talk like someone who understood responsibilities and told stories that sounded mature. Some were true, some were arranged, but he delivered them well. Machi listened because it sounded different from what she expected. Nelson noticed the way she listened and he smiled inwardly. He did not rush, he was taking it one step at a time and he allowed conversations to grow slowly. One day, he offered to walk her home. She hesitated. Just as friends, he said. She agreed. That walk was short, but it mattered. He did not touch her and he did not cross lines. He simply talked about life, about mistakes, and about how money changed people. Umachi found herself replying, and as a naive girl, she did not see danger. As days passed, Nelson introduced small kindness. He asked how her day went and he remembered little details. To Umachi, this felt new. She had been warned about bad boys, but nobody warned her about soft voices. One evening, Nelson invited her to follow him go somewhere, just to sit and talk, he said. She agreed, thinking nothing of it. That day, Umachi tasted shawarma for the first time. She did not know the name until Nelson said it. She only knew it tasted different from anything she had eaten before. He watched her reaction and smiled. Later, it was pizza, then cold stone ice cream. Each experience felt like a door opening, not because of the food, but because of the feeling. She felt like life had more colors than she knew. She still remembered her upbringing. She still told herself she was careful, but her definition of danger was changing. Nelson began to talk about the future. I am not like the other guys, he said one evening. I want something serious, and Machi believed him. Why wouldn't she? He was consistent. He showed up. He sounded responsible and he did not behave like the men she had been warned about. Nelson, on the other hand, was enjoying the game. He liked how Umachi trusted him. He liked how she looked at him with softness and he liked how she depended on his words. But deep inside, he was not planning far. When he finally asked her to be his girlfriend, Umachi did not answer immediately. She went home and thought deeply. She remembered the movie she had watched and she remembered how love looked gentle. She told herself, maybe this is not wrong. He loves me and I think I love him too. Mommy, I am sorry, but I think I will disobey you this time around. When she said yes, Nelson smiled like a winner. The relationship began quietly, with calls at night, walks in the evening, and shared laughter. Soon, Nelson began to introduce deeper talks, touches that lasted longer, and words that sounded heavier. Umachi felt confused. She resisted at first. She reminded him of her values. He apologized and he promised to be patient. But patience has limits when desire is the driver. Nelson began to push boundaries again. He talked about love as sacrifice, about closeness as proof, and about trust as surrender. Umachi struggled inside. She did not want to lose him, and at the same time, she did not want to disappoint her or bring him. Nelson saw the struggle and pressed on gently. Don't you trust me? That question broke her strength. She thought about Nelson more than she wanted to admit. Not because of his money, not because of food, but because of the way he made things sound easy. When she was alone, her thoughts traveled faster than her feet ever could. She remembered the movies she watched again, the way the man treated the woman, the way love looked sweet and clean. She compared it with how Nelson spoke to her. He listens, he told herself. He is patient and he is not forcing me. Each thought became a reason. Machi began to defend Nelson in her heart even when nobody accused him. She answered questions nobody asked. If he was bad, I would have noticed. If he didn't care, he wouldn't still be here. Fear was still there, but fantasy was louder. Sometimes, when Nelson called her late at night, she would lie on her side and listen quietly. He talked about his plans. Some were real, some were dreams, but he spoke with confidence. You know I care about you, he would say, and I won't hurt you, right? Those words sounded strong in the dark. Her heart began to separate Nelson from the men she had been warned about. She placed him in a different safe box and a special box. One day, he called her to come over. She stood in front of the mirror and told herself she would be careful. That word careful had started to change meaning. They sat somewhere quiet. The air was calm. The conversation was light at first, then it slowly changed. Nelson's voice softened. He talked about love, about connection, and about how two people who cared about each other should not build walls. Why are you always afraid? He asked gently. Machi did not answer immediately. Nelson noticed her silence and moved closer. He talked about trust and about how love should not be delayed by fear. You think I will leave you? He asked. I won't. If I weren't genuine, I would have given up long time ago. Machi's heart was pulling her forward, but her upbringing was pulling her back. She felt stuck between who she was taught to be and who she was becoming. Nelson reached for her hand. She did not pull away this time. That moment scared her more than anything else, not because of what she did, but because of what she allowed. From that day, things changed. The talks became deeper, the touches lasted longer, and the resistance became weaker. Nelson noticed all of this and he was the happiest man on earth because he was really playing his game well. One night, he spoke words that broke the last wall. I want all of you, he said. Babe, I can't wait again. Machi cried that night, not because she was sad, but because she was confused. She loved him. She felt connected. She felt chosen, and she felt like walking away would mean losing something very precious. She remembered her mother's warnings. They sounded distant now, like old songs. She remembered her teacher's words. They felt harsh, like rules without feeling, but Nelson's voice felt present, and so she gave in. She told herself it meant commitment, love, and that it meant a journey to forever. Afterward, she laid quietly and stared at the space. Nelson slept peacefully beside her. Her body felt strange and her heart felt heavy. Something had left her. She did not know how to name it, but she felt empty. Nelson woke up happy. He kissed her forehead and said playfully, "You are all mine now." Machi smiled back weakly. From that day, her heart was completely tied to Nessie. She believed something sacred had happened and a bond had been sealed. She promised herself she would stay, she would endure, and she would not give up no matter what. Nelson on his part was changing because he had gotten what he wanted. Whispers. Life continued. Machi still smiled outside, but she did not know that her body was already carrying a message, and she did not know that the next chapter of her life would begin with 2 lines on a small stick. Soon, her body started speaking in ways she did not understand. She felt tired all the time. Food she once enjoyed began to smell strange. Sometimes her head would spin for no clear reason. Other times, her heart would beat so fast like it was trying to warn her. Her monthly flow did not come and her heart began to pound every time she thought about it. She did not tell anyone, not even Nelson. She prayed quietly every night. She begged God to make it flow and that she would never do wrong again. One morning, she could not ignore it anymore. After sweeping the compound, fetching water and warming leftover food for her parents, she went to secretly buy a pregnancy test. Inside the bathroom, she locked the door and stood still for a long time. She was afraid to move, afraid to know, and afraid to see. Finally, she gathered courage. She followed the instructions carefully like her life depended on it. Then she waited. Those few minutes felt like hours. Her heart was loud. Her ears were hot and her eyes refused to blink. When she looked down, she saw 2 lines. Clear, bold, and unmistakable. Her legs became weak instantly. She sat on the floor and stared at the text for a long time, hoping the lines would disappear. So, it is true, she whispered. Her first thought was not shame. It was fear. Fear of her parents, fear of disappointment, and fear of tomorrow. Then her mind rushed to Nelson. He will understand, she told herself quickly. He said he loves me, so he will marry me. She held onto those thoughts like a drowning person holds onto wood. When she told Nelson, she expected shock and then a hug. But Nelson laughed. At first, Machi thought it was nervous laughter, but it continued and her heart sank. You must be joking, he said. I am not, she replied. I checked it. Nelson's face changed. Well, don't put that on me, he said sharply. You better be sure. Machi felt something tear inside her. She showed him the test. He looked at it briefly and then looked away. That's your problem, he said. Those words fell on her like stones. My problem? She repeated slowly. Yes, he said. I am not ready for any child. I didn't plan for this. But you promised, she said quietly. You said you would stay. Nelson stood up. Don't twist my words, he replied. This thing is not my business. Her ears rang. She felt like she was standing in a room that suddenly became empty. The man she trusted was gone. In his place was a stranger. She begged. She asked him to think, but he did not. He told her clearly that he wanted nothing to do with the pregnancy. He said she should handle it however she wanted, and he warned her not to come close to him again. Everywhere became blur for Umachi. She thought it was all a dream. She sat there alone for a long time and cried. When she finally told her parents, The house became silent. Her mother sat down slowly like someone whose strength had suddenly left her, and her father stood up and walked outside. That silence hurt more than shouting. Later, the shouting came with lots of questions, pain, and disappointment. But even in their anger, they did not abandon her. They decided to do the right thing. They went to Nelson's family. Machi followed them, walking slowly. She felt exposed as she felt naked, even though she was fully clothed. When they arrived, coincidentally, Nelson was there. He looked at her like he did not know her. When her parents explained why they came, Nelson shook his head. I don't know this girl, he said. Machi felt like the ground should open. But Nelson continued, denying everything, saying she was lying and saying she wanted to trap him. One of his cousins spoke up. Guy, stop this now, I beg, he said. Everybody knows you were with her. You have the money, so do the right thing. Nelson kept quiet, and Machi watched the man she trusted choose pride over responsibility. Her parents stood up. They said nothing more. At home, they packed her bags. They were angry, they were hurt, and they were tired. We cannot carry another man's responsibility, her father said. Machi did not argue. She only cried. When they dropped her at Nelson's place, she felt like her life had ended. She thought this would force him to change his mind, and she believed shame would make him accept responsibility, but she was all wrong. That was the day her real suffering began. Nelson changed completely. The man who once spoke gently became harsh. The man who once promised became cruel. He began to shout at her, to insult her, and to remind her daily that she was unwanted. Sometimes he would beat her. He began to even cheat openly. He would bring other women home and send Machi out until they were done. She would sit outside and cry quietly, feeling less than a human. If she complained, she was slapped. If she asked questions, she was beaten. Her pregnancy became a burden instead of a blessing. She lost weight, she lost confidence, and she lost herself. Yet she endured. She told herself she was strong. She told herself she deserved it. And she told herself love meant sacrifice. She did not know she was confusing endurance with abuse. When she finally gave birth, she gave birth to a girl. She held the baby and cried, not from pain, but from fear. She looked at her daughter's tiny face and promised silently to protect her. Nelson did not smile. He looked at the baby and walked away. Later, he said words that cut deep. In Igbo culture, he said, this child belongs to your father since I didn't pay your bride price and I don't intend to pay. That was the day he pushed Machi out. As the door closed behind her, Machi realized something painful, that the man she trusted did not just abandon her, he erased her, and she had no choice but to walk forward alone. The road back home felt longer than the road she took when she left. She walked slowly, backing her baby. Every step felt heavy, like the ground itself was judging her. By the time she reached her parents' house, her body was shaking. She stood at the gate for a long time before she knocked. When the door opened and her mother saw her, everything stopped. Her mother looked at the baby first. Then she looked at Machi. She almost couldn't recognize her daughter. Machi entered quietly and sat on the floor with her baby. Her father came out, saw her and went back inside without a word. The house that once felt warm now felt strange. That night, nobody asked her if she ate and nobody asked her how she was. She laid on the floor holding her baby tightly, listening to the sounds of the house she grew up in. Every sound reminded her of how far she had fallen. In the morning, her father asked questions with pain in his voice. Her mother cried loudly, asking why she did not listen. Words like shame, disgrace, and disappointment filled the room. Machi did not defend herself because she knew she had no excuse. I am I'm sorry, she said again and again. She knew her parents were not wicked, they were just hurt. They fed her and the baby, but the love was heavy. It was mixed with anger, mixed with fear for the future, and mixed with worry about what people would say. Days passed. She stayed indoors. She avoided neighbors. She avoided visitors and she avoided mirrors because she felt like her name had changed. She was no longer Machi the good girl. She was now Machi that girl. She made a quiet promise. I will not fail my daughter, no matter what. She told herself, I will not sit and cry forever. I will not beg Nelson again and I will not wait for pity. The next week, she told her mother she wanted to learn a skill. Her mother looked at her for a long time and then asked her several questions. Machi answered reasonably and this pushed her to borrow money for her. She started learning manicure and pedicure for a woman nearby. She learned why carrying her baby on her back. She learned why hungry and she learned why tired. Soon, she regained her freedom and she started moving from house to house just to walk. Rejection met her many times. Some people refused to open their doors. Some insulted her and some underpaid her. But she accepted it all. At night, when everyone slept, she would sit quietly and count her money. It was never much, but it gave her hope. She started saving little by little. As time passed, her hands became faster, her work became neater, and people started calling her the more. One day, a thought came to her. This place is too small for my dreams. She knew staying there would always remind her of her mistake and she wanted a fresh start, a place where nobody knew her story. She told her parents she wanted to leave for the city. They were afraid. Life there is hard though, her father warned, and people in the city don't care. It is every malam to his kettle over there. I know, Papa, she said, but I must try. The day she was leaving, her mother hugged her and prayed for her genuinely. Machi said amen with tears in her eyes. She didn't know how she would survive in the city, but one thing was very clear. She was on a revenge mission with success. When she arrived, she rented a tiny room with the little money she had left. She carried a small bag of tools and stepped out to find work. She moved from markets to markets, streets to streets, asking if anyone needed manicure or pedicure. Most people said no. Some people laughed, some ignored her, and some told her to come back when she had better tools. By evening, she went home with nothing. The next day was worse. She discovered that the city wanted fine things, electric tools, clean setups, and social media presence. As customers here were not patient, they wanted speed, beauty, and class. Machi had none of those. She started managing. Sometimes she got small jobs, just enough to buy food. Other days, she returned home empty-handed. She reduced her food so her baby could eat, and hunger became familiar. 1 week was the hardest. Food finished, money finished, and hope almost finished. For 7 days, she drank only water, morning, afternoon, and night. Her stomach hurt, her head spun, and her body felt weak. She would lie on the floor counting her breath. Her baby cried often because of hunger, and she herself wasn't strong to carry her. One evening, she sat on the floor and looked at her phone for a long time. There was only one number on her mind. Nelson. She did not want to call him, but hunger pushed her. When he picked up, she spoke calmly. Nelson, you know I've not disturbed you ever since you chased us out of your house, but we are suffering here. Can you please send something for your baby, even if it's small? Then Nelson laughed. Well, that suffering is small. What is ahead of you is bigger. She has not even entered nursery school, not to talk of the university. He ended the call. Machi stared at the phone. Everywhere became blur. She wiped her face and then looked at her baby. With that determination, she told her, whatever it takes, you will not end up like me. The next week, she found a culinary school that accepted her with small payments. She learned with hunger. She learned while tired, and she learned while carrying her baby on her back. Sometimes she slept in class. Sometimes her hands shook, but she did not stop. While she was learning baking, she still did manicure. Anything to get money, and as days turned into months, slowly things changed. After 1 year of learning, failing and trying again, Machi finally felt confident in her hands. Her cakes were neat, her snacks tasted good, her food presentation was awesome, her manicure work was clean and careful. She still did not have the best tools, but she had skill. One evening, while sitting on her bed and scrolling through her phone, she noticed something. People were selling their work online. They were not begging on the streets. They were simply posting pictures. That night, she opened an Instagram page. She did not know much about social media. She chose a simple name and uploaded pictures of her work. The pictures were not perfect. The lighting was poor, but the work was real. She posted every day. Even when nobody liked, even when nobody commented, and even when nobody ordered. She told herself, one day someone will see this. Days passed, then one order came. It was just a small cake. She almost cried when the message entered her inbox. She delivered it carefully, praying under her breath. The customer liked it. That one order became two. Two became five, and five became steady. People started sharing her page. Someone recommended her to a friend. Another person posted her work on her story. Slowly, her phone started ringing more often. She started small chops. She added snacks and she added packaged deals. She worked day and night. She slept late. She woke up early. Sometimes she forgot to rest, but she did not complain. Money started coming. She rented a better room, bought better tools, improved her pictures, and her page grew. One day, a big order came. She was afraid, but she delivered. From that day, things changed very fast. Machi no longer walked the streets begging for work. Work now came looking for her. She was booked days ahead, sometimes weeks. She would sit quietly and stare at her phone, amazed. She did not forget where she came from. She still worked like someone who remembered hunger, and she still saved like someone who knew poverty could return. Then something unexpected happened. She met a man. The man first noticed her work, not her body. He respected her space. He listened to her story without judging her, and he admired her strength. Love came gently this time. Machi on her part was very careful. She did not rush and she did not assume. The man stayed consistent. He supported her business. He encouraged her growth, and most importantly, he treated her daughter like a blessing. Eventually, she said yes. Their wedding was so beautiful. Someone posted a short video online. The video went viral than expected. People admired her story, and through that video, people followed her page. Machi was smart. She used the attention very well. She advertised her work boldly, and contracts started coming from places she had never imagined. Life changed again, but this time it changed with honor. And somewhere far away, Nelson was watching from the shadows, realizing too late that what he threw away had grown into something he will never touch again. So, my dear Karma tribe, what do you think will happen in the next episode of this true life story? Kindly turn on your post notification bell, because I kid you not, it's going to be an eye-opener. Until then, it's a goodbye from here, and God bless you.